Welcome to our pod, and by that I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who are doing a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. Right now we are shiting on the Wheel of Time, and we are covering the prologue through chapter 18 of Knife of Dreams.
Knife of Dreams.
I keep wanting to say Knife of Daggers like I did yesterday's episode.
I mean, might as well. It was Path of Daggers, and
yeah, I think that's why I'm getting it confused. But before we discuss Knife of Daggers, Laura, what are you reading, watching, and or enjoying? Oh, and Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you. As far as reading, I read the book Pony by R.J. Palacio, or Palacio. I'm not for sure how you say the last name. It's the same author of Wonder.
Okay.
So it was another middle grade YA book, and I really enjoyed it. I think this author is coming up with some really creative ideas. And if you're looking for an easy read or middle grade YA book, I would really suggest Wonder or Pony. They're
that's good.
Really good books.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
And then sticking with my middle grade theme, I watched Encanto.
Oh my God, that was going to be
Disney Plus.
It's so good.
Let me just tell you that my throat is a little bit sore from singing so much because I've been singing Encanto in my car at maximum volume.
That's amazing. I'm so happy for you.
So yeah, I have a little bit of a sore throat because I've been singing Encanto soundtrack so much. It's amazing. Everyone go watch it. It's great.
Can I ask you, like, which song speaks to you the most? I feel like that says a lot about people.
I think Surface Pressure.
Okay,
is the one that I've been listening to the most, but Dos Oruguitos was a really beautiful song, especially during the movie. Watching that whole sequence was extremely emotional, and I sobbed, and I think that song is just beautiful. I encourage people to look up the translated lyrics.
Or while you're watching it, if you have the subtitles on, it does give you the translation in English.
Yes, it does.
So that is also very helpful.
But I also just think that Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I can't remember who the musical director was, but I think it's a Franco or something like that was the last name. People come at me with the actual name, but they did such a wonderful job of incorporating that song into different points of the movie where Abuela would sing that in like the Family Madrigals song and everything. It sing to that theme. And I really appreciate that about movies when people can incorporate these composers or music directors can incorporate these themes into the movie. And Disney always just knows how to hit me right in the feels, and they did it
right again. I agree. I will also note that like there's been some pushback on Lin-Manuel Miranda because I think people are having fatigue where he's concerned because he's in a lot of the most famous like songwritings of things today.
This was contracted out though in 2016, so this has been a long going thing, and he was coming right off of Hamilton High and the Moana High, so I get it that now people are fatigued with him, especially with all the In the Heights stuff just happening, but to his credit, this has been a project that's been in the works for a while. It's not just like they threw it together because of COVID.
Exactly. Well, and I think the only thing I want to add is to this discourse is oftentimes when we start talking about representation, people give all the representation to one person that white people approve of because they're too afraid to take chances on other people. And so I would say don't push this on Lin-Manuel Miranda for being the one person everyone keeps giving stuff to. Push it on producers.
How about we go after Disney?
Executive. Yeah, go after Disney for using only Lin-Manuel Miranda for this, not Lin-Manuel Miranda, because it's not his fault that he's taking opportunities when he's given them. Like, he's a music creator. He wants to create music. That's fair.
He does a great job.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of sick of seeing people be like, oh God, another Lin-Manuel Miranda. I'm like, okay, don't blame him. Like, that's a huge part. Make sure you're taking chances on other people as well. Don't just
it's like
focus
me
on the
going
one.
To the grocery store and being like, another DiGiorno pizza. And
And it's
like
why
Laura, you don't have to put them in your cart.
Yeah, you could order out a pizza, or you could search for a better branded pizza.
Right.
My dad thinks DiGiorno pizza is too salty. I do not. So it's also a palate thing,
Yeah.
So I would that's the only thing I wanted to add to this discourse, because Encanto was also my choice for things as what I'm watching.
What song do you relate to the most?
Well, so I did cry the first time I heard Surface Pressure. Like I was just
I feel like so many people are reacting to that song, especially in such a variety of ways. And I love it.
I definitely cried the first time I heard it. It was a clip on YouTube. I watched it, and then I watched it like every single night for 3 days, and it wasn't even the full song. But I also really much really What Else Can I Do also really reverberated with me. So, but like, sure. I also am someone who has anxiety to the point where I take medication. Everyone, it's okay to be medicated. So I think like those type of things, like I am technically the baby of my family, but I was born with a very significant age gap. So I think sometimes the like stuff falling on you, that can be a youngest thing. Mm-hmm. And feeling like you need to be the golden child was definitely something I grew up thinking I needed, like to the point where I remember in middle school, I would cry because I got B's, and my teachers would be like, Hannah, middle school doesn't matter. Like you need to calm down. So I think everything of like those two songs just really were perfect encapsulations of what those feelings are. Surface Pressure and What Else Can I Do, I think is beautiful. And I think that that's great that so many people get to hear this, but I also just love Encanto and how it deals with like generational trauma.
Yes.
And there's also been some blowback where people think someone's a villain when they're not a villain. They're just a person. Like the entire purpose of the movie is to show how flawed people's are, like even when you don't think they're flawed. And so let's make sure we understand the entire context of the movie, people. But I very much enjoyed it, and I'm glad you loved it too. Who is your favorite character?
Mirabel.
I mean, Mirabel is perfect. I really love her. And I also love Bruno, though. Bruno's one of my favorites, even though we don't talk about him.
We don't talk about Bruno. I also found the dad very cute.
He was so wonderful. Okay, so I'm on TikTok.
And
Laura's
also,
not.
I love Wilmer Valderrama. So,
but the claws that Encanto has on TikTok right now is just incredible. Like it's everything. And a lot of people talk about how beautiful the dads are in this movie because they're supportive, and like there's like a certain scene where he's like, I was thinking about my daughter, and it's like, oh, that's so beautiful, because like you don't get to see dads who are involved in a way that's not like, oh, I'm just like the kids. Like they're very much interested in their kids. I didn't realize it was Wilmer Valderrama.
And the entire cast is of Colombian descent.
Okay.
Either I think most of them either are from Colombia, or like they're Colombian residents, or were born in Colombia, or they have a parent that was Colombian.
Okay. The only thing I have to say about him is sometimes he dates girls when they're far too young. So I don't love him, but I get that.
I mean, I just find him very attractive and
that's fair.
Acting. So
well, you might be too old.
My
for
take
him.
on him. I look very young, so I probably wouldn't, but I'm probably not his type also. Like, he dated Demi Lovato. He's not coming for me. I'm well aware that we're not in the same bracket.
Know that there's some discussions that he dated Demi when they were like far too young for him, as well as Lindsay Lohan. So, but that's also a very big Hollywood thing that people need to context. Sorry, I'm like being a Debbie Downer about him when you said you liked him, but
I also love Stephanie Beatriz, that is the voice of Mirabel.
Oh my god, I love her so much.
I'm following her on Instagram, and she is amazing. I love her voice. I love how she speaks. I love all the things she posts. I love her smile. Like, she's just so fun, and I just love following her.
I love her as well. I'm unfortunately not her type either. But also things I'm reading, watching, and or enjoying. Laura, last week I saw the newest Spider-Man movie in theaters.
Yes.
I loved it so much. I also cried during that movie.
Okay.
It's so freaking good. I don't want to give any spoiler because someone like recently was like, well, if you haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, and I'm like, it's been out for 3 weeks in the midst of a pandemic.
Yeah, it's not like me being like, if you don't know how Iron Man 1 goes.
Right.
Then...
Like I do get frustrated, but I'm like, some people don't want to. And like the only reason I ended up watching it in theaters was because I kept having to avoid spoilers. Mm-hmm. And I was like, because again, we're in the middle of a pandemic. I ended up going and I went to the Barnes and Noble 50% off hardback sale and then took myself to a movie next door.
After you finish the story, tell us what you got at Barnes and Noble.
Continue. Okay. And so I took myself to the movie, wore a mask the entire time. The guy next to me was not wearing a mask, and I coughed once, and I was in a mask, and he glared at me, and I was like, "Listen, buddy,
but we're not wearing a mask.
Like, yeah, if I'm wearing a mask, I'm protecting you. You're not doing the same. I can cough. That's what it's for."
Good Lord.
People are just so stupid about stuff right now. And I get it, like Omicron, it's much easier to catch. I was in a KN95 mask and I really wanted to see Spider-Man because I didn't want to see spoilers. And I already sort of knew a couple of spoilers going in, but I didn't know how they happened. So I was like, I need to see how it happens. It was a great movie, best superhero movie in a while. Loved it to death. So freaking good. So very much a fan of how they did that, and now Tom Holland has said he's going to be in more Spider-Man movies, so can't wait to see what they do next. Yeah, he's only been in 3, which is actually, he's breaking a huge thing with like the other actors because they all only got 3 Spider-Man movies each. Okay. So like this is actually a pretty big deal that he signed on for more and he didn't kill the Spider-Man trilogy, because like there's a huge Spider-Man fatigue out there, except for like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Like there are multiple Spider-Men. So I think it's interesting to see how he's going to continue on. I thought the way they're doing the story is so interesting. And I grew up with the cartoon. So I feel like this is going into cartoon territories of like, oh God, I can't wait to see what they do next. So, and then at the Barnes and Noble sale, I got Cole's, hold on 1 second. Let me pull it up. I got Colson Whitehead's novel Harlem Shuffle, and then I got my nieces each a book about unicorns, because one of my nieces is obsessed with woonicorns, as she calls them.
I have a niece who also loves unicorns.
Oh, nice!
Unicorn and horse.
Yeah, my niece is always like, I want a woonicorn, and she has one she like carries around with her at all times. So. And then I need to look up the other one I got. Now I have No Clouds Allowed in the Sky. Are you
telling the story or not? I was tempted when we were talking about this and you said you were emotional. I was going to be like, free hugs, bring it in, bring it in. I was like, no. I was like, don't ruin the moment, Laura.
And then I honestly can't remember the other book I got, but it's a young adult novel written by a Black female author. I just remember I looked at it and I was like, that looks good. And it's a hardcover. And guys, when I tell you that the hardcover sale, I went on like day 4 and in Chicago, not a hardcover to be found.
Really?
People had wiped them out. Like, cause this was a sale that went on for like over a week and people are questioning if Barnes & Noble is about to, say they're bankrupt. Like there have been questions for how long this hardback sale went on, because it went over, it was supposed to be a 2-day sale and it got extended to like a week. And someone made the joke about like, we're on day 6 of the hardback sale. I'm like, I went to a Barnes and Noble, there's not a hardback left. Like, what are you guys selling? So
I could not, so this is somewhat on the same topic, but I could not find Light from Uncommon Stars very easily. I tried to order it from local indie and they said, oh, it's been on back order for a really long time and we're not sure when we could get it in. And I was like, well, I need it right away because I need to read it. And so then I was like trying to find it through the library. They don't know when they can get it either. So I'm like, okay, what do I do here? And I looked on Bookshop, back ordered, don't know when they'll get it. Continued that trend for a while. And then I was like, okay, so my options here right now seem like I can either buy it on Kindle, buy it from Amazon, or I can try to get it from like Barnes and Noble. So I ended up buying from Barnes and Noble because I was like, is this bad that Barnes and Noble is somewhat an indie?
I know. Well, and like
what?
So I'm having a similar problem where I actually ordered it through my local bookstore and I didn't realize how back ordered it was. And so I did end up ordering our copy that we are giving away through Amazon, unfortunately. But I might read it before I email it out to the person or send it out to the person while we wait, because the author of Light from Uncommon Stars, Rika Aoki, has been so amazing. Everyone go buy her book to prepare for February standalone, but she's sending a couple of signature like things to include in the book. Awesome. And so we're waiting for her to snail mail those to me. I believe she's sending us a couple. So Lori, you should be getting one.
Yay!
And I was like, okay, well, like while I'm waiting for her to get that, I guess I'll just like quick read this book and then send it on. So person who won, we apologize. You might be getting
a used book
through Hannah. And I had to order it through Amazon, but I also ordered one from Semicolon in Chicago. It is a Black owned bookstore. Everyone go buy books from there because they're amazing women. They're in my neighborhood. And they do wonderful things for the community. So I've bought one from an indie bookstore. It just might not come by the time we need to read it.
My like order of trying to get books, I usually start with my local indie. If this is for like books I want to own. Yeah. And so I usually start with my local indie. Then I go to bookshop. Then I will look at like indies in Chicago.
Yeah.
And see if I can get it from any of them. And I don't know that many there. I know like 3 or 4 that I will check out. Then after that, I'm like, well, I'm back to Barnes and Noble, the biggest indie. So
I know. I mean, you're still buying from mortar stores.
Yeah, I'm trying to buy from things before I do Amazon. And that's kind of how my book buying has been as of the past several years, where Amazon is a last effort.
Same. I think I didn't order through Barnes and Noble because I knew like there's been some issues and I needed it like right away. Sure. Or else I would have never ordered from Amazon, because I really don't, unless it's like bath bombs that I need delivered to my dad's house.
I try really hard not to do. Yeah, I try really hard not to do a lot of Amazon ordering. Small business
with Amazon.
Small businesses really suffer, and there's all sorts of stuff on it. I don't need to give you a lecture on it, but yeah.
Laura and I support small businesses. Just know that. But also for reading, I did quite a bit of reading. I had last week, or like the week between before Christmas off, and you and I haven't really talked since then on here. And so I am still continuing my journey with Monstrous. Love it. Book 4 was amazing.
Monstrous. Okay, book 4 was my favorite one.
It is. I mean, it really ramps up
to that point. Yeah.
It's really good. I also read a couple books. One that was published yesterday as of this time. It's called Olga Dies Dreaming. It's like almost a historical fiction, but historical, where it's during the hurricane that touched down in Puerto Rico during Trump's presidential like run, unfortunately, because he was so terrible. And it's about 2 Puerto Rican children, immigrants living in Brooklyn. It's very much about, again, generational trauma, where their mother was like a huge activist, as was their father, but then he became a drug addict and she deserted them. But it intercuts with these letters she's written to them throughout their lifetime, kind of telling them like what a disappointment they are to her and how disappointed. And like, it's very well done. And it's about Olga and how she is like a wedding planner, but she's like one of the smartest people ever. She just like kind of cuts corners because she's like, if I'm just stealing from the rich, so I don't care. And she like, it talks about how she deals with the intricacies of her family, with her brother, who's like a politician, and you find out that he has a lot of secrets going on, and they get intermixed with their mom trying to reach out to them during this hurricane, and it's a huge deal. And it's just a very interesting read. I thought it was so well done. The author is Puerto Rican and she does live in Brooklyn, so like everything she writes about is very eye-opening. I also read The Fields by Aaron Young. I told you a little bit about this, Laura. It is a procedural. It is fine. It's a British person talking about corn development and GMOs in Iowa. And like, I'm someone who grew up tangential to farming,
Mm-hmm.
where I know enough to like respect that I don't know enough.
Sure.
You and I talk about farming and I can understand exactly what you're telling me, but I could not argue it for other people.
Sure.
And so a lot of it, she felt like she was throwing way too much at it. I thought it was pretty impressive for someone who doesn't know anything about farming. And it wasn't not enjoyable, but I just felt like there's too much going on. And if she had stuck in a couple different things, it would have been much more effective.
Sure.
It was kind of like a worse In the Woods by Tana French, which is Tana French's first detective like novel of that series, which I loved so much more. And then I also read Long Division by Kesey Lehman. Kesey is one of Flora and my favorites memoirs we've ever read. This is his novel. It is very weird fiction, sci-fi, pretty much. It's like it deals with different timeline type things. It deals with like very specific dynamics. He talks about colorism a lot. There's like, and it's a very weird book because you start at the beginning and you're reading from one character's perspective, where he starts reading a book called Long Division, where there's a character who has his exact name, but that character was born in the 1980s, and weird stuff happens to him as he's going through this. And then halfway through the novel, you turn it over and it's pretty much the other book. And it's just a very weird, trippy book. One that like I enjoyed reading very much. It's really short, guys. It's like 280 pages, but it's so trippy. I think you need to read it 2 or 3 times to really effectively get it. But it's not because it's not good. It's just because I think it's written so differently. And like Kesey writes from such a perspective that I think you need to really sit with his words and how he uses them. And so I recommend getting the book, guys. It's really good. And I enjoyed it a lot. But those were some of the books I read during the wintry break we took, where we weren't recording very much. So.
You did a lot of reading.
Yeah, at the end of the month, last month I read 14 books, which is huge for me. I did read a Nora Roberts book to finish out the year, and it was delightful because it's one that's going to be a Netflix movie starring Alyssa Milano, and I wanted to see what it was about. I will say that in the book, her love interest is a tall, buff, ginger man, and guess what they casted? A brunette man that they did not cast. No, they just cast a brunette man. I was close. That's our biggest joke, is every redhead is cast by a white brunette man, if they keep them redheaded at all. So, but with that, should we get into book 11?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay, well, luckily this book is something we enjoyed better than book 10 so far.
Yeah, it's much better than book 10.
Thank shocking
the Lord.
Shocking what happens when you actually have plot in a book.
It's shocking what happens when something happens.
Right. So we come in on Galad, our favorite fascist. And they are riding up to like this group of white cloaks with him and his friends to Valda's mansion. Valda, the evil man from the TV series that I honestly don't always remember what he actually did in the book series, but I know him now.
Now we can put a face to the name.
They note that Bornhald looks hungover because, again, he is a drunk of a personality.
Which I don't like Bornhald. Nobody's supposed to, but
either,
it's just like, what is happening with this character?
We're supposed to like Bornhald? He just yells at Perrin.
Yeah, it's just, his character is just weird and dumb.
It's a very weird character. But anyway, they come up and one of Galad's men tells Valda that a child under his command wishes to claim the right of trial by combat with him. A guy who's with Valda, Asunawa, says no, but Valda says he wants to revive the old traditions and allows it. Galad accuses him of raping and murdering his mother. Remember that Morghese does not claim Galad. And Galad is like, I will avenge you, mother.
Remember how Galad was the one where, Morghese was the one that was like, Galad is not my kid.
Yeah, like
and now he's like, okay, I'm avenging my mother. Like, what? Oh,
poor Galad just wanted to marry a queen and have his mommy love him, and neither.
Or Nynaeve, remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah, randomly, like he was in love with Nynaeve, and it's like that never happened.
It was always a queen.
It was always a queen. She even like was in love with him.
She
for a
was
little
confused
bit.
too.
Yeah. So Asunawa tries to stop it and orders Galad's arrest, but the children do not let this happen. Galad and Valda fight, with one of the men warning Galad of the way Valda likes to attack. Valda tries to put him off by telling him what a good ride Morgaze was.
Gross. Which was gross.
Yep. And then Galad warns one of the men, Dane Bornhald, to watch Asunawa. Even if he wins, Galad gets in the first cut, but then Valda starts cutting him. He pretends to be weakened and growing reckless, and when Valda tries to finish him, he strikes and kills Valda. Thank God this man is dead.
Only took 11 books to be done.
Asunawa leaves as soon as it's over, taking men with him. One of the men offers to release Galad from the children to save him from Asunawa, but he declines. He tells them they should ally themselves with anyone who will fight with the Sanchen and the last battle, even if that means Aes Sedai and Asha men. And they're like, but we're fascists. Tram reveals that according to the law, Galad is now Lord Captain Commander.
Because which is a weird thing where it's like, why do we have to like have that kind of leadership where it's like, oh, you killed the former leader, so now you are in charge. Like, what? No.
I know.
That's not how this works.
Upsetting. And like, I just hate that Jordan's always like, okay, well, we only know this character well enough, so now he's the leader, because I can't trust you guys to learn someone else. Yeah, it could have been Bornhald. He could have gotten sober. He's in his 10-step program. He's getting his life together. He's not going to yell at Perrin anymore.
Or he doesn't have to be sober. He can just be literally like a person that needs help, who is just going off the deep end and needs help in a lot of ways, because he's also just a crazy is not a good word. He's also just a person who is very misdirected in where he is sending his anger.
Yep. You could have a million other more interesting things than the 20-year-old now has control over everything.
Yeah.
Because we all trust the 20-year-olds to do everything. They're going to be the Amaryl and
like, sure, I'll
They're going to be the leader of the children.
I like to fight.
I was reading books and I thought they have some good ideas.
You guys got swords? Okay.
But then we go to one of the men, I think under Rand, who is with Terabonners and Domani just outside Sirana and Terabon, where the Sunchen have been building their own villages. He judges the discipline of the camp to be slack. Some of his men ride forward to attract attention and draw out the Sunchen, and enabling the bowmen to kill the Domani and Soldam and the officer. They quickly finish off the rest of the archers, and like people take on the survivors. It's a whole deal. We go on over to Suroth, who is like worried about Tuon being dead, even though she's a dark friend apparently. She realized that Tylan was not killed by an Aes Sedai, but she believes it must have been one of the Domani, because like Tylan killing herself is just, or Tylan is, was Tylan a man, or was that
Tylan was the queen? She was
the queen of Altara, who was a rapist. Yeah, but she's like, oh, I don't think she must have been one of the Domani, and just like, and she doesn't believe that Egyanan disappeared with everyone else like at the same time for any reason other than coincidence. And it's like, that doesn't happen in these books. It's all part of the pattern. And then she wonders what Tuon is doing, because again, people are like, is she dead or is she just in hiding? She does both.
And it's like, people, she's only just wearing a veil. Is that hard to figure out who she is?
She's is one of the only Black people in this novel.
Like, only person who's 4 feet tall.
I fucking hate Tuon in a way that like I can't describe.
How can we not figure out that this person that everyone's like, oh, she's maybe a child? Oh, no, I'm okay with it. It's an adult. Okay. Like,
she's just running around screaming about how you should enslave everyone as a personality trait, and Matt is like, but I'm in love.
I'll buy you a horse.
In 17 days, all she has found is a story of Tuon extorting money from a goldsmith, and she's like, that's ridiculous. And it's like, no, it's not. It's actually what's happening. Liandrin enters. She killed Alwyn because she believed Suroth wanted her dead, but it was clumsily done. So she instructs Liandrin to have herself beaten. She takes her to a banner general who's angry by her merely kneeling instead of lying prostrate, as is accordance to how high they are up. They're kind of talking about the return and who's accepting her role. And she thinks that he's like trying to hedge his bets to escape responsibility for Tuon's disappearance. She like demands some rockin', and they're like, we don't have enough rockin' to do what you need to be done. And she's like, I don't care. And then she walks back angry. In her room, Semirog appears, masked in fire. Semirog says that she could make Suroth the ruler of this side of the ocean. When Suroth tells her that she would be punished by the Empress for this, she is told the Empress is dead and all of her family, and Tuon is the only survivor. And she
Why do we have to kill off everybody's families?
Like families that it's like, hey, I never mentioned these people, but by the way, they're dead. Like,
it just reminds me like of Perrin's family all having to, like, literally anyone with the last name Ibarra, like, gone. And this seems similar, where it was like, was it absolutely necessary to kill off all of her family?
Apparently it was, Laura.
I feel like no.
It was. It really, really was. And then we cut on over to Pavara, 12 days after Rand has cleansed Sidene. I want you to remember that an entire book happened in these 12 days.
Yeah, nothing happened.
Nothing happened in those 12 days, but we got a whole book about it.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was a bad week.
Pavara is talking to the new head of the Raja, the Red Asha. And like one of the third sitters is left for unknown reasons. Pavara reflects on how people thought Sutama broke on her return from exile, but no longer. She thinks that she is extravagant and perhaps not entirely sane. She believes that Javindra to be Elida's lapdog, but even she seems pleased at the idea of Elida's fall. She reads a letter from Sechelle in which she reveals that Logain has been healed and is an Ashaman, that she herself has been healed and is in charge of the sisters with her, and that they have all sworn fealty to the Dragon Reborn. Sechelle says that she looks forward to re-swearing the oaths. They reluctantly accept this. And Sutama tells Pavara to move forward with her scheme for the Ashaman to like bond them. And Javindra is forbidden to mention this to Elida, which also seems to please her, and they leave. Pavara walks back, thinking that the tower has less than 200 sisters because it is broken. She thinks on whom to approach first with regards to negotiating with the Ashaman. She joins Dukiri, who reveals that Maris Thornhall, one of Atuan's heart, broke and swore to them. As with the others, her one other was out of the tower, so the hunt has ground to a halt. Yukiri reveals that Talene has received a summons to stand before the High Council of the Black Asha. Pavara thinks that they can use this to take them all out in one go, but soon realizes that would be a folly. She is asked by Tovine and has contacted them, telling them everything except the allegations against Elida that were in the letter. Yukiri says she intends to keep silent as they cannot pull Elida down in such troubled times because they think she might be Black Asha. And like Elida's asking about the investigation, and there's like treasonous, and whether Alviarin is trying to have treasonous correspondence with the Dragon Reborn, but she hasn't. But they're gonna keep on hunting for the Black Asha. In the White Tower, Alviarin worries about the mark the Dark One gave her. She overhears two sisters arguing about the food spoilage and is pleased that it's been noticed. She thinks that the tower is shattered beyond mending, which is like her job, and then she freaks out for the rest of this book that it's not working. We have Perrin's point of view. He's in Gildon. It's just pretty much like him trying to figure out how he's going to get Fail out. They captured Galena. We have Galena in the wood. She's like captured by some Ashaman, and she's like freaking out all about it, as well as some of the Aiel, Figure, and Gaul. She comes before Perrin. She's shocked to see his golden eyes and that one of the men is an Ashaman. He reveals that he knows she is afraid, which confuses her more because, again, Perrin can smell everything, including the fact
he smelled amusement on this person, so which was weird.
Yeah. And then she's like, you can't.
I wish that was how I smelled. I think I probably smell a little bit like goats and hay just because I spend so much time doing chores, but it would be nice if I smelled like amusement.
I smell like clean soap because that's pretty much all I use. And whatever I put in my hair to make it curly.
No amusement.
No amusement. I'm rarely amused. Sometimes
go back through and come up with like I think I'm gonna go back through these books, and every time like Perrin smells something, I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna add that to my list of names for fragrances for my potential fragrance line that I'm making based off the Wheel of Time.
Hesitant. She smells hesitant.
Yeah, hesitant.
But she is like, you can't go after Fael because they're under my protection, and your presence could ruin everything. And she tries to convince Barrelane, who's like, yeah, we're 3 or 4 days away from where we took you from. And she's like, oh my God, they can travel. And she's like freaking out because she definitely lies to him about where Fael sleeps. And he's like, okay, you need to go tell Fael to go to Lady Chiron's fortress when wolves howl in the daylight. She's like, I totally will, but she does not mean it. And she tries to convince him, like, I definitely can't lie, but apparently she can. And then she asks Perrin to strike her so that like the woman who controls her back at the camp won't beat her, but he doesn't do it. And Berlin does it instead and like hits her so hard. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe she's that strong. And then she's like, I guess I have to kill Fael because actual plot suddenly entered this novel. Then we come back to Egwene, who's pretending to be unconscious, listening to the women who captured her. She asks who portrayed her. And like Katarine, who becomes like her main abuser in this book, like has to be stopped from striking her. All of the women embrace Saidar, and Egwene is like, I can definitely feel Saidar, but then they're like, oh, we put fork root in you to control your thing, but like fork root isn't working as well as it used to.
They just keep like pouring it down her throat, basically, like fork root.
Yeah, but she can still feel Saidar, and then she's like, I
think
can't
that's just to like
touch it.
Show how powerful she is.
She's gotten, and they just don't believe she's powerful.
Right. I think that's what that's how I took it, was that she's just extremely powerful, and it's just like step it up, people, because you keep underestimating her.
I know. And she sees Nicola, who's like the little brat who ran away in the last novel, who's also in Novice White, and then she tries to like apologize and run away, calling her Amerlin, and she's like, I don't believe that's that. That's like a slap in the face. Yeah. They take Egwene to Sylviana, and she's pretty much told that she is not going to be stilled or executed, that she's like too powerful to do that too, and that instead and they're like, we caught another woman who swears she's Liani Sharif, and they're like, what a liar, she's just a novice, or like, oh, she's just a wilder. And Egwene's like, that's definitely not true, that's definitely her.
I also hate that they said that though, about like, oh, you're too powerful to be like, I hate when books or movies do that, or people in general do that kind of thing where they're like, she's too powerful, we need to use her as a weapon in the future. And it's like, bleh.
It's like when the Bechdel cast is like, oh, you just have a plot witch. It's just like plot reasons. That's why we're not going to kill you. We need you to suffer in this book instead.
No.
Yeah. And so they're like, you're going to be stricken from the accepted roles. You're going to go back to novice. You have to attend your classes, but you'll be dosed with fork root and only shielded at night. And she's pretty much going to be beaten every day until she stops claiming she's the Amarlin and like starts listening to them. It's not looking great for Egwene. But then they take her up to her rooms and she's like, this could have been my last room, I don't know. And then she goes straight into a dream. And then on the way there, she like noticed she has a dream that the Sunten will attack and do great harm to the tower. She talks to Suyan and says like, hey, by the way, don't come get me because I need you guys all to like, I'm going to root this out from within, and I need you guys out there making them think that I can be kowtowed and all this stuff. And the prologue ends. So long.
Like 5 chapters, literally.
Yeah. The next chapter is like Suyan figuring out that like, hey, they found Egwene's boat, and then
she's like, hey, Egwene's alive.
Yeah.
I can't go rescue her.
She's sleeping in Gareth Bryn's tent, and she's like, why am I in here? But has he bedded another woman? And
so I hated that because this woman was just like, where's Gareth? It's like, oh.
All romance in these novels, it's so bad.
And then romance is one of the worst. And
then she like has to. There's just so many random plot things in here that I'm like, this is so stupid. Like the guy doesn't want to get her a horse, and she like pushes her ring up into his face, and she's like, now you give me a horse. And it's like,
take a look at this bling. I need a horse.
He's in the middle of a camp for Aes Sedai. Why wouldn't he expect it to be an Aes Sedai? I don't know, but she like,
is it the blue or the red, Aja? We can't tell. They're all in red.
She knows that there's been 2 murders. And she like wants to tell the women who swore fealty to Egwene. She goes and she tells them that she's alive and she's a prisoner as well as Liani. Shiriam is like, we should travel deep in the cell and rescue the 2. And no, she told me not to. You guys are all supposed to be loyal to her. Leilani enters the tent, interrupting the conversation, and Shiriam gives away what Suyan just told them. And she's like, I wanted to tell her myself, arms crossed. And then Leilani is like, Suyan, walk with me, and just like walks out. This is so jarring compared to how long these prologues are.
I know.
Suddenly it's like, come talk. And she's like, just so you know, you're going to give me your loyalty, even though we both know you swore fealty to Egwene. And she's like, well, she's still going to be the Amerlin seat. And she's like, for now. And she expects that if Egwene dies, that they will all support her to be Amerlin's seat. God. We go over to another Aes Sedai who's like eating breakfast with the rebel Aes Sedai, but like it's spoiled. She knows it's the Dark One touching the world. She was watching the novices. It's just kind of like all this background stuff. And then they're traveling. After a short while, they travel to Tar Valon, close to the White Tower. And her guard is like, I wonder what she's going to do. And Bannon starts wearing an illusion, clearly wanting to enter the White Tower disguised. Terval thinks she wants to assassinate Elaida and suggests that he should do it, but she sends him away to hire a room in the city. Then we go on over to Elaida, who's gotten like so freaking paranoid.
I mean, probably I know. Warranted. But...
I know, but also it's just like, you're a bad leader.
I mean, yes.
Yeah. She's talking to like the former leader from Ilion, and she's like, I'm going to restore your throne, showing like she actually has power, even though she doesn't. She calls in her new keeper to deal with tower business. Elaida wants to avoid fighting the rebels at all costs. She's looking forward to Gareth Bryn commanding the tower guard. Like the way she's so deluded, where it's like, he's promised Egwene loyalty, but definitely he's going to be loyal towards me because I'm so powerful. I get that she had a prophecy foretelling this, but like, it doesn't show that Gareth Bryn is going to do anything for her.
Right.
I don't know. She's also furious that she could not hold Rand with Tarman guidance so near. The sewer outlets of Tar Valon are nearly clogged with rats. Gross. And they're in the tower themselves, so it's showing like everything is weakening. And Accepted brings in two women. They introduced a woman who wants to present a petition to the Umberland seat. It is the Aes Sedai who is in her illusion. She swears that she has always been loyal to Elaida, and she's trying to spread dissent in the Sisters of Saladar. Elaida learns that the rebels know that Egwene is alive and not to be tried, and she tells her that Egwene can enter Tel Adriad, and she's like, that's true? Like, that can happen? And apparently,
how are they just now like finding out about some of this stuff though?
Because they do know a bunch of it. Like Egwene has a ton of discoveries that are the main reason for Elaida keeping her alive. But like she wants to like force her how to show them how to do it. And it's like, okay, but then why are you making her into a novice? Like, don't try to put her through all these travels. Just like, you guys obviously beat people. Why aren't they doing that? Like, it feels like a very thing to like keep Egwene nice and pristine for some reason. I don't understand Jordan's thinking.
Don't get it, but okay.
But the Aes Sedai shows Elaida examples of traveling and skimming. She says that she can teach people who Elaida says she can teach. And then she tells her the names of the sisters sent back to the tower to spread tales about Logain and the Red Aja. And then the last name makes Elaida sit bolt upright. She wants them watched. And she notes that one of them is a woman who tried to resume an old friendship with Elaida, and she's like, I guess I'll invite her to dinner. But again, this is one of the girls who was broken by the other Aes Sedai who are rooting out the Black Aja, and she was told by those women to resume an old friendship with Elaida. So if Elaida communicated with her own team of Black Aja hunters, she would know that they already broke the Saladar women.
Right.
And why aren't they talking to each other if they're on a super secret mission for Elaida?
Totally unnecessary.
It's very unnecessary. And then we like cut over to the Forsaken, who are like discussing how to proceed with Rand, Matt, and Perrin.
He's dang Forsaken.
Yeah.
Stupid Sidene. Ugh. Why is she like, back?
Yeah. So
I thought we were done with her.
It's very weird for like in these books you find out that some of the Forsaken get reborn, even
they're
though
like
Rand
reincarnated.
But they could like be reincarnated in like ways that you wouldn't expect them to be reincarnated. So you have like Aguinar and Osingar, and like, it's all these more complicated people that he's like, well, I want them all there at the last battle. So I can't
stupid
have
Lanfear back
dead.
again.
And Lanfear is back. What's her name in this book? I forget. Sidane. And
or
and
Sindane.
Like,
Sindane, I think.
Sindane.
Maybe.
And Sindane is like, let's capture Luz Theron. And Morgan is like, she might kill it. You might kill him accidentally. We need him to like come to the dark side. And Arengar is like, she sounds like a Lanfear.
She's even like trying to like get used to herself being this like, oh, it feels different. Like,
I'm not as pretty as I once was.
Stop. Just stop.
And then like Moradin chose the Forsaken the appearance of Bad Perrin. It's like, how did you guys not know what they look like?
I know.
We've been going for 11 books now.
You've been obsessed with these people. Shouldn't you know who they are? Public Enemy number 1 and 2. Come on.
Well, 2 and 3. Randa's Public Enemy number 1. And then, but like Demandred is like, Arengar, you lost your grip on a queen. And they're like, I can't control everyone. And they're like, we must keep the White Tower apart. And it's, yeah. It's all just very.
When you ever like read these Forsaken chapters, do you think of the Dark Crystal and all of them like
that disgusting meal? No, I just
sometimes I think of that and I'm like, zoom in. Skeksis.
Skeksis. I just sometimes I kind of black out during the Forsaken because I'm like, you guys
black out. What?
Like, I just like forget what I'm reading for like an entire chapter because I'm like, these people don't matter. I'm so over like because they also list people so often where it's like Grindal.
Oh, there's 7 zillion of them.
Sindane, and it's just. It's like, I can't keep track of these people. They don't have enough chapters to make them that important. So, like, let me know when one of them died. And it's like, Samael is dead, like, but Demandred is now here. And
somebody was now Ishmael.
Yeah.
And so then it's confusing with all this reincarnation, too, to be like, how do we know which one was Ishmael? How do we know which one was this one? Like, well,
it would make more sense to be like, I am Lanfear. Like, just have her be the same person. Don't have like all these subterfuge of like, she sounds like Lanfear and she's screaming about Luz Theron, but she's just a random Forsaken that we found in the corner of the cell with us, I guess.
She's stopping in front of every mirror we see to look at her own reflection.
They were in a prison together for many, many, many hundreds of years. And yet they're like, who's this new Forsaken? Guess there's someone we just missed all that time. It doesn't make sense. No. And so sometimes the logical leaps I have to do when I'm reading those, I'm like, I don't want to do this right now.
I mean, fair.
Yeah.
So then
we cut on over to
anyways, Perrin.
And Perrin is like with a party who are waiting for the Sunshine to start a negotiation for cooperation to help fight with the Shido and Malden. Berlin and Honora are still distanced because Berlin knows that Honora visited Massima behind her back. Argando wants the Sunshine to come while Aram is doubtful that they will. The prophet said they wouldn't. And like Perrin at this point is like randomly sees Matt talking to a dark woman. But he's also like, I kind of wish Aram would go back to the the Tinkers.
I didn't understand that.
And he's like, he picked up that weapon, and I guess it's my fault. And it's like, what? This was a huge plot point that like Aram will not leave your side. And all of a sudden,
I didn't like that because I was like, he's been such a supporter of Perrin all throughout, and I don't know.
It just didn't make very much sense at all.
I just thought it was weird considering it was like you said, a huge thing for Aram to actually choose that path, and Perrin, it's like, oh, it's my fault. I know. She wasn't here. Like, what? No.
But anyway, Perrin smells and hears the other party arriving. Talonport accompanies the Sun Chen. He had led the negotiations and is leading the meeting. Damani is with the Sun Chen party. Talonport introduces the two parties formally. And like, when one of the women is glad that Perrin is not introduced as the Wolf King, because
when was he ever called the Wolf King? Do you remember that? I feel like it was always like Perrin Golden Eyes, and I don't remember him being called the Wolf King. But
also
that would have been cooler.
the Sunshine, like their prophecies are like similar, but just different enough. And the prophecy is like when the Wolf King carries the hammer, thus the final days are known. And when the fox bears the raven and the trumpets of battles are blown. And it's like, yes, that's definitely going to happen, but why?
Yeah.
And why is it like, why did she know he was the Wolf King? Like, it just doesn't add up all the time.
Especially when it's like one of those things where it's like people like Perrin who can speak to wolves are extremely rare, and usually people are like, oh my gosh, golden eyes when they see him. So the fact that they're like, oh yeah, that's definitely him. Like, how did you know?
Definitely the wolf.
It
also is noticed that
just a really good guess.
Fairlane has a connection to Arthur Pendrag. And she
doesn't talk about it, or I didn't
like. I don't like to talk about it, even though I'm I'm power hungry. I
thought that was weird, considering what we know about her character. That like you said, she's power hungry, and then she's just like, I don't like to mention it, but
I know.
what? I think they should be like flaunting that left and right, like, hello, my name is Fairlane, descendant of.
This Robert Jordan was suddenly like, hey, I only have like 4 books. I'm kind of dying right now. I need to shove all of this backstory into one thing. The Forsaken never question why there are more Forsaken. Things like this. I don't get it. We did like this book better than the last book.
I actually didn't mind this one.
I'm enjoying this book.
I thought it was much better.
It's so much better. People were right. But anyway, like everyone brought more people than they were supposed to do. The Asha'man and Perrin like almost give up claims to Manatharin to convince them to withdraw forces. But like that doesn't happen because then Perrin wouldn't control Manatharin. So I don't know. And then he's like, all of a sudden he's like, nope, instead, I need all of this stuff. And then he like takes out a letter from Surath herself. And it's like, why didn't you do that at the beginning? Like it seems like a pretty good thing.
It's like they just don't think things through, and it's like they're in the middle of negotiations, and all of a sudden he's like, oh wait, I totally forgot, you guys. Hold up. Got this letter.
Then we cut on over to the woman we feel bad about finally, Fail, being a prisoner and like having to watch Savannah while she sleeps. And then you find out like the woman who she's supposed to be helping get the oath rod, who Perrin found in the woods, was like definitely beaten, even though she came back. Like they didn't believe that she had been overtaken.
Yeah.
And she looks broken, and Fael is like worried that she will not be able to save them. And she wonders like how she's going to get away. She's worried about Perrin. Again, the woman's not telling her about what Perrin told her. So yeah. The wise ones want to leave because food is not easy to come by anymore. And Savannah, who's like just become colonizer 101, is like, isn't there seed here? Aren't we building here? Aren't I now part of the common folk? Then we're staying here. And she's like, I'm going to marry Rand, even though no one believes her now. And then
that
they
was
also
Hannah's voice that she always does for people. My voices have become iconic, but Hannah likes to do her voices where she like imitates noble lords, and that was
I don't hear it. You're the one who hears it.
Well, you just people can hear it.
Vote on our poll. Could you hear Hannah's voice?
Can you hear her voice that she just did?
And then they also talk about how they sent someone to Ruidian to become a new clan chief. And she's like, I'm the clan chief. And they're like, by marriage. And once we send someone else, they will be the clan chief. So patriarchy is still in place. Fail's then replaced as a guy shine in the tent, and she like leaves. This is also just like Robert Jordan was like, oh my god, I haven't had plot for an entire book and a half. Quick. And,
like I've wasted so much time.
And like someone walks in and he's like, I have the oath rod for you. And it just makes no sense why this is happening so fast. And then Fael like buries it into her sleeve. She promises them that she will get them out if Galena is able to free them all at once. And then one of them is like, she's not going to free anyone. And it's like, good point.
Right.
They are interrupted by Roland, who is like Fael's suitor, who's like, we can have sex while you're a guy shine. Don't worry, your husband won't mind. And she's always like, my husband will very much
I was
mind.
gonna say I was a little confused by that whole scenario as well, that it had to be stated that way, where she was like, he is going to care. Why?
Listen,
why did they have to word it like that? I mean, I totally get it if it's like some guy trying to put the moves on her, but I think why did they have to put that in where it was like, Perrin's definitely going to be upset by this?
I just think it's funny because like it is supposed to be part of their culture that like once you are a guy shine, anything you do has to be forgiven. If you like bet another person, it's not, you're not a person.
But the outward stating of it like this is strange.
It's worded so bizarrely. We're like, he knows she doesn't understand and she's from a different culture. So he keeps being like, don't worry, your husband will understand. And she's like, very much not so.
That's she's like, no, works. That he won't get it. He has a hard time understanding this.
And then he's like, by the way, I'm also leaving. We don't want to follow Rand, but we're appalled by the Shido. So we're going back to the Threefolds land. And she's like, so scared because she's going to get raped if he leaves her. And then he's like, nope, instead I'm going to take you with me. And she's like, I guess this is my only choice. Like, this man who definitely wants to, like, the power dynamic isn't there. And he keeps telling me it's definitely okay if we have sex. And I don't agree. Yeah. But what other option do I have? Robert Jordan, no, thank you. Yeah. Then we cut on over to Matt.
And a three-ring circus under the surface. Sorry. He's with the circus.
Surface? Is he feeling some surface pressure?
He might be, but this is the circus that they're with, so.
Press that a tip, tip, tip. You just go pop. Whoa. He decides he needs to buy a horse for Tuan because he's showering her with gifts because randomly. He loves her now. I don't understand their
a weird either. Scene like, of him like trying to make an exchange for a horse.
Oh my god, I also forgot this is the part where he suddenly sees random men having sex when he thinks about Rand. Oh my god, that part was so bad where he's like, I'm gonna watch myself.
He's like, oh, wish I wouldn't have seen that. Like, okay.
And then Robert Jordan's like, oh, I forgot he's really good with horses. Let me have him buy a horse for Tuan.
Let me throw in like 5 horse colors and I'll say a couple breeds.
And like randomly be like, I bought you the breed that's like Sunshine. And she's like, this is good, but toy. And then he's like, my precious. And Tuan seems to think it's a game when Matt's like, I just want you to give me respect and call me by my name. So I'm gonna call you Precious until you stop calling me Toy. Again, this is a character who fought being ta'veren so damn hard, and then the second suddenly he gives the woman, he's like, "This is the woman I love. This is her." Oh my god!
But there's no lot of explanation as to why he would love her besides just him like finally just being like, "Yep, I accept everything that ta'veren means. All these prophecies totally true." But then don't question anything anymore. I question Maureen nonstop for multiple books, but I'm done. I'm not questioning anything.
So bad. I hate Tuan. Noel, who's the man who helped Matt back 2 books ago, who's still traveling with them and just knows all these stories.
Was this the scene where Matt is like, I'm a little concerned about Oliver and the people that he's been spending time with. And he's like, I need to get him away from some of those people because they're kind of influencing him and getting him into bad stuff, and he's just like outwardly looking at people's boobs, like just staring at them, and it's just obvious. And I'm like, what?
I think I'm raising a perverted 9-year-old.
Literally, this was I don't remember if it was this chapter, but it was.
I think it was this chapter.
But I was like, what a weird aside for him to have this train of thought where he's like concerned for this boy because he's just like ogling people's boobs. Like, come on.
Maybe we should talk about Oliver.
I mean, my thing is maybe we should talk about Robert Jordan because this is concerning.
He created a perverted 9-year-old.
Why?
But Matt is concerned. Matt, of all the characters, he's like, I think he's gone too far.
Like, I need to get him away from some of these people. Like,
I'm a man who calls the woman I love precious, and she calls me toy, but I'm very concerned about how this boy is blatantly staring at boobs.
I do like the voice that Michael Kramer uses for Noel, because it's the same Elias voice, I think, but it's his old man voice. And it sounds kind of like this. And I love it.
I also love that Noel.
Every time Noel talks, I'm like, yay!
He's like, I've done everything and seen everything. I'm related to this great hero. And Oliver's like,
Oliver's
really?
Like, what? That's like a storybook character. And he's like, yep, that's my cousin.
I'm pretty sure it's Noel, actually. Like, Noel has known too much. I think he's just Jen, whoever his name is.
I just think it's like so random for that to even be a thing also, where it's like, they're telling Oliver these stories and he's like, yeah, you heard about him? I'm related to him. Was that necessary?
But anyway, Matt sends Noel to warn Egyanan and sends over to warn Bethaman and Seta that 3 Aes Sedai are about the Senchen who have come to visit. Matt goes on to check on the Senchen. 3 Senchen soldiers try to enter the show without paying, almost causing a fight, because if there's one thing you can't do at the circus, it's not pay.
Yeah, circuses, they're just notorious for making sure that everyone that comes through those tent flaps has paid.
Matt also has multiple die rolling in his head, and he knows how many are rolling. In this book, it becomes canon that he's like, 3 are rolling in my head and 1 has stopped. And it's like,
also question this because did we not ever get a number before now?
We've never gotten a number before this book, when suddenly he's like, there are 3 die in my head and 1 has stopped. And I'm like, how do you know? The clatter of die is not exactly a number specific thing.
I just, unless he can feel them at different points inside of his brain, I don't know.
Guys, this because
I guess if he had 3 pressure points, you could probably feel it.
This recap is going to be 3 hours.
We're getting close. We're halfway.
We're halfway there, living on a prayer. But anyway, Matt decides to go back and check on the Aes Sedai. When he gets to their wagon, Jolene's warders are not there, and the full women are channeling. Matt goes in, and 2 of the women are standing rigid as fence posts while Jolene is slapping their face over and over. And he grabs Jolene's arm and she smacks him. And then he pulls her across his lap and he spanks her.
I was so confused by all of this, because it was like this woman randomly starts channeling that she couldn't. And then he's like, I know what I'll do, spank her for being bad.
She's not listening to me. And then his medallion goes cold and they're like, we can't channel against you. And then what follows is them trying to channel against Matt for half a chapter, where he's like, well, they figured out they can't channel directly at me, but they can throw things at me.
It's weird.
He also demands respect, because he's like, I stopped you from being collared, and it's like, I kept you from slavery, give me respect. That's not how respect works, Matt. He kind of tells them to just keep track of everything and to not channel the Senchen around. Be careful. Matt wants to know why they were channeling like it was the last battle. And they proceed to tell him,
Matt, the last battle isn't happening for a couple more books.
At least 3. Come on. And so they were kind of trying to stop her from channeling. He is really upset with them. Matt asks the Aes Sedai what they intend to do about drawing that much power. Tesslin suggests that they let her die. Bethaman crying so she will never channel again, but Jolene replies saying that she will inevitably try again, and suggests that they teach her enough to make her safe. Because she is one of the Senchen, isn't she? So she's horrified that she can actually channel these women with their I don't know. The women are still arguing. Matt takes the opportunity to slip out. Um, and then he like goes to sleep on the floor of the wagon he shares with Egianan and Doman, who are apparently married in this book and like
When
so
did
in love
that
with each
happen?
other. I mean, between this book and book 10, nothing happens in book 10, but they definitely got married in between the novel of that 12-day span. Like that was a huge plot point too, where it's like, I can't marry him, he's my slave. And all of a sudden they were like, resolved, we're married. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. The Sanchen arrive and Luca decides to leave before dawn the next morning. Matt wakes the Red Arms to hitch the teams for his wagon and Tuans and to saddle Pips. Um, they like end up all going out. The foxhead medallion is cold against his chest. This is when people keep trying to test if he can channel or not. The first night they leave out, Matt approaches Aludra. He tells her that he has figured out what she wants with a bell founder. Aludra needs the lofting tubes to pay back the Senchen for destroying the Illuminators. She calls the tubes dragons and the charges dragon eggs. Matt tells her that he knows someone who can get them made. He sees swirling covers that resolve into Rand talking to Loyal, and he's like, I have to stop picturing him. Aludra wants to know who this man is with such power. Matt tells her that it's a secret only Tom, Julian, Egianan, Doman, Teslin, Jolene, Bannon, and the Red Arms know. That's such a long
That's not a secret, man.
That's not a secret. That's not a secret.
If
like
20 people know, it's no longer a secret.
If 3 can keep a secret, if 2 of them are dead, like everyone needs to die to keep that secret.
Jeez.
And then he's like, the
only
man is the
half
dragon.
of this book knows.
And then he immediately is like, the man is the dragon reborn. What? And she's like, I will go with you. Matt has dreams of death and destruction on 100 battlefields and the Dark One laughing. This is when Egianan and Domont get married. They get married so suddenly. He leaves the wagon.
Okay. I was gonna say it hadn't happened in between the books then. Okay.
We went into the village and we got married. And he's like, I guess you guys get the wagon now. And he buys a tent. 2 of the men are like trying to outdo each other. Noel tells stories to Oliver. They play Snake and Foxes. It's like Oliver loves playing games with people. So does Tuan because she's childlike, because she's born sexy yesterday. Pretty much.
I am bothered by how they keep comparing her to like being
Oliver
a child,
children.
and I'm like, stop.
And then she's also like, I wonder if the Dragon Reborn will sound the horn of Valir. And Matt is like, oh my god, how do you know about that? And then he gives her the dice. At that time, another set of dice stop. And then they all go out riding. I do like that Tuan's like personal maid is like, yeah, thanks for giving me this horse. Next time I ride yours, because the one you gave me is shit.
Yeah.
They pass a tinker caravan and suddenly Tuan gallops off into the trees. Matt and Slusha follow. And like the tinkers come up to make sure Matt wasn't trying to attack them, because the tinkers are solid gold people. And they're like a little bit worried about them. And Matt's like, don't worry. Tinkers are so nice because I've met them in past lives. And then he's like, but this will be the first time I've ridden one or spoken to one. They're heading to Abu Dar after hearing that there is safety there under Senchen rule. He warns them to take care, but the Tinkers mean to continue taking their women who can channel straight to Tar Valon, because he was worried about them getting collared. Once the Tinkers are satisfied that the women are safe, they ride back to the circus. That didn't need to happen in this book, but it did. Matt can't figure out why women cause him so much trouble when he treats them so well. Sure, Matt.
Okay.
Matt asks Egianan to tell him what she knows of Tuan, and she's like, hey, don't go down that road. Like, Sunshine people murder each other all the time. Like, Tuan had a brother and sister assassinated, so she could be in charge. And he's like, no, she seems so innocent.
And it's like, oh yeah, also like the children that survive might be able to rule.
And she's like, don't go down that road. And he's like, I want to. And she's like, well, then I guess the horse is a perfect courting gift. And he's like, we will be married. Again, he does not question this. He questions everything else, but not that. They note that one of the women who was Sunshine is halfway to admitting she can see weaves. They like are fighting. Is this where, I think this is where like there's a huge uproar between Tuon and the Aes Sedai because Luca let slip that the Aes Sedai, that Tuon is the Sentient High Lady, and they begin to harass Tuon about treaties and negotiations with the Sentient to end the fighting. And then, like, Tuon puts Adam around all of them, and she's like, I will control all of you. And Matt is like, you promise not to hurt any of my people. And she's like, these people definitely don't belong to you. And she like causes Jolene both pain and pleasure. All the pleasure stuff feel very rapey to me.
And I was gonna say there's a moment where she says like Adam can also cause pleasure, and I was like, stop.
It's incredibly rapey and problematic. Matt moves to free the women, and the fox head medallion goes cold, and Tuon is shocked that he can't be channeled against. Again, she was trying to use women. And this is where, like, again, Robert Jordan has just like plot witch points where he's like, Tuon, you can definitely channel because you can control them through these odd downs. And she goes, but I choose not to touch it, so it's different. And again, this is where it's like very, like, I don't know, it just feels gross that the one black character is very much like, it's okay for me to do these things because I'm not touched by these dirty channelers. And I'm like, really, this is the one character you're gonna make us do this with? Like, it's just gross and demented in my opinion. But anyway, he is like, well, you're not gonna have them on a chain. This is a fight for another day with your wife, Matt, apparently. The next day he rides Pips besides Tuon, riding her horse, Akian. Solution obtained a different horse. The Aes Sedai ride in the wagon. He sees flocks of ravens, and he tells Tuon that they can be spies for the Dark One. And
she's again, like, I would know if they were.
Tuon is like the biggest person who is like, throw salt behind your shoulder. But whenever Matt is like, hey, in my experience, I know that ravens can tell the Dark One, she's like, you believe in these silly children's tales? And it's like, I would believe this if she weren't the most like, I believe in a bunch of children's tales. Like, I'm following prophecies so often, but you're an idiot, Matt. But anyway, she asks him if he sleeps on the old Hobbs Hill under a full moon, then snakes will give you true answers to 3 questions, or the foxes that steal people's skin and take the nourishment from food so you can starve to death while eating your fill. And he realizes that she's referencing the Ilfin and Ilfin, which he has seen before. So it's like, old Hob Kyson Hob was a name for the Dark One. So like, and she's like, you believe in these old wives' tale? And it's like, all of them are true. So calm down. And he remembers that Egyanan told him that Tuon has been trained in intrigue and disassembling, and he can't understand what she would want with him. They come upon a strange-looking village with a peddler driving his wagon through it. Matt realizes that the village is full of undead people, and he like screams out to him to keep moving, but they take the peddler down, and everyone is horrified by this, and they like start examining the area, and they find nothing. The people are afraid to go on. Lucas starts trying to convince them that they need to continue into Lugard, but most just want to head back to Eberdar or go west. Tom and all the men join them. Tom asks Matt if he wants to make a bet on whether Luca will convince the people to continue to Lugard. Tom wins the bet, and they head out behind Luca and Littell at a gallop. Tuon tells Matt that the dead walking is a sign that Tarmangadan is near. And it's kind of everyone dealing with all of this. And then all of a sudden, Matt asks Tom about a letter that he keeps reading, and Tom is like, I was supposed to wait until you asked about it, and hands him a letter that's from Moraine, and she like addresses it to like, my dearest Tom, and he's like, why would he ever put that down? Why would she ever call him that? And it's just like,
and Matt's like, oh, you know, she's dead, Tom, and he's like, no,
she's not.
Feel in my heart that she is alive. And he's like, dude, she's dead. She broke the bond with Lan. He would be able to feel it. And he's like, no, just let him.
And then he read in the letter, she's like, my dearest Tom, if I'm writing this to you, it's because Lanfear has killed me.
If you're reading this right now, know that I love you and I'm alive.
And she's like, don't tell anyone until Matt asks about this.
Come save me. Only when Matt mentions it.
I'm gonna stay dead until then. And she's like, Matt and one other person must attempt to rescue me, and Matt knows the way. She wishes happiness for Lan and Nynaeve. And the letter also says to remember the game of snakes and foxes. Matt is skeptical. He saw the doorway to Tara girl that she fell through melt. And Oliver says that Brigitte told him, again, plot contrivances abound. Oliver's like, Brigitte once told me that the Tower of Genji is the way to the land
of
the
interact?
And the Elfin. Apparently. And that to open the door, you take a bronze knife and make the sign of snakes and foxes on the side out of it anywhere. And Noel's like, oh yeah, the Tower of Genji. And he says that it's on the Shadow Coast. And Matt recognizes the description as the tower he saw while fleeing Shadar Logan on Damon's ship. Again, he was like out of his mind during
It just
so bad.
The only thing I can figure out is that maybe there was a chance passing of Oliver and Brigitte. Oliver tried to stare at Brigitte's boobs, and she was like, I will hurt you if you do that again. And in exchange, I will tell you about this game and how to win it. And so then we now have Oliver, the child, who's like, hey, old people, I know about this game. I know how to win it. And then Noel, the old person, is like, oh, that sounds like an old game that I used to play. And I just, what is happening?
Is writing some excellent fan fiction here, guys. Write it down.
This isn't fan fiction. I'm recounting what happened.
Love that they're sitting around this fire. Matt is reading this letter, and he's like, I'm skeptical. I saw it melt. And Oliver's like, the Elfin and Elfin, you say? And Noel's like, the Tower of Genji, you say? And then Matt's like, oh my God, one time when I was fleeing from Shadar Logoth on Dominic ship over there. And like,
there was that time.
I'm surprised Dalman didn't reach out from the wagon he shares with his new wife, and he's like, oh yeah, that one time. Like, oh my God. He says that Domin can lead them to it, but he warns them of how the Ilfin and Elfin may know what is in his mind and tells them the whole story about his encounter with the Ilfin and Elfin. Shows
the fact that these had to have such similar names annoys me.
I know. I mean, it's Robert Jordan, so Matt agrees to go with Tom to rescue Moraine, and the last set of dice in his head stops. Oh, that's one sets? That was still clinking around there. And then the next day, they're still traveling. Tuan says, like, I want you to take me into town somewhere. And Matt's like, that's easy. And she's like, I want to go to a hell. And he's like, that's not easy.
That's weird. Okay.
It's a very rough sort of tavern. They argue about it. And then Matt promised until Tom knocks on the door and interrupts. And he's like, I can take them somewhere. And he takes them to the White Ring, which he says is rough enough for Tuan. And Matt's like, this isn't rough enough for a hell. And he's like, she's killed people. And like, Tom is like, yeah, but she's still royalty, Matt. Like, you can kill people and still not understand what a bad place is. And he's like, I bet you money she won't know the difference. And again, he's right, because Tom knows things.
Tom knows all.
After the game, Tom tells Matt that there are Sunshine armies ahead. Oh, because like Matt starts playing a game and he's getting too lucky. And it's obvious that Tuan wants people to try to kill him to like amuse her.
Yeah, twisted. Yeah. I don't like that.
I hated everything about this. After the game is finished though, and like Matt keeps winning until he suddenly loses, and she's like, oh, sometimes I guess your luck does run out. And he's like, no, I needed to lose so they wouldn't try to murder me. So I was lucky that I lost. I hated all of this. But there's a Sunshine army coming around looking for a woman who looks like Tuan and is called the Daughter of the Nine Moons imposter. So they know like people are out looking for them. When Matt and all of them try to leave town, they are attacked by more than a dozen swordmen. Matt kills about 7, earning a lot of gashes, but he would not raise his weapon against the last one, who is a woman. Before she can kill Matt, Tuan takes over and leaves her unable to fight. They decide to leave, and Lucas show as fast as they can because Matt recognized the fellow who left the tavern earlier among the attackers and is afraid of being blamed for the fight. Perrin, like in this chapter, gets a bunch of fork root from his Sunshine army by traveling, and they're mad about it because they're supposed to make so much. And he's like, I have this letter
by an arrow.
Oh yeah, and he's stabbed by an arrow through his arm that was actually aimed for his heart. Mishima reports that men who shot poisoned themselves rather than reporting their failure which points to a powerful enemy. And then we go over to like Elaine during a war, and she's like, I'm pregnant, and
like, I feel weak.
I feel weak, and also I can't channel correctly because I'm pregnant.
Everything's messed up because I'm pregnant. Like, oh, come on.
And then like a guardsman lieutenant comes in and he's like, I brought 10,000 soldiers. And Elaine is like, cool, you're a captain. And it's like, Elaine, you were supposed to be a good leader.
There was also a moment in this chapter where she said something about like, Brigitte stupidly wanted to do something. And I was like, what?
Oh yeah, Brigitte's like, we need to get back to the castle as fast as possible so we can get the wounded healing. And she's like, I want to fight Aramilla's army though. And it's like, Elaine, she is your leader. And this is just like a lot of like Elaine, Brigitte, and Aviendha walking around together, ruling the castle. But
when is it that Aviendha has to leave?
Not quite yet. Like in this chapter, it's just her like where they're like Sunshine are admitting they can see weaves. And then they meet with Chanelli, who accuses Elaine of not looking for Muralili and Talon. Brigitte reacts angrily, reminding them that they're under Elaine's authority and are supposed to be in tier. So it's like the sea folk who are like, you're not holding your end of the bargain. And Elaine's like, we never said when we'd uphold that. It's a war. And they're like, no, give us what we're asking for. And it's just women screaming at each other, not working together. Also, Elaine can't find her apartments, and she's like worried it's because she's pregnant, but really,
she's like, oh my gosh, I have like really bad pregnancy memory. Like I can't remember where I live.
Like it's intimated that some people are gaslighting her with like being like, oh god, you're so stupid, you can't find the way to your apartment. But then like for the next 5 chapters, everyone's like, the walls are shifting, and it's like, let's not gaslight the pregnant lady.
Right.
Also in this one, like, she's like, I can't figure out what all these Terra Angreal can do because I'm pregnant. And Aviendha's like, I've touched this one. I think it could do this. And she's like, guess what that one can do? And she's like, oh my goodness, you're right. And Aviendha is like so sheepish about whether or not she can tell what a Terra Angreal can do. But Elaine is like, you must have this special power because so far, Aviendha, you've been kind of boring. But now you can tell what Terra Angreal can do.
Finally, we know what your purpose is besides being my cheerleader.
And then immediately after we find out that Aviendha is particularly useful, Robert Jordan's like, let's get you out of that plot. And yeah, he'll come in and they're like, we're leaving Andor on Rand's command. And
you haven't finished your training.
Because you haven't, like, and Aviendha is like, I've been trying to practice with the like,
I've been really preoccupied being a midwife.
Yeah, and she's like, I need to stay with her. And they're like, no, you don't. That's not how sisters work. And Elaine's like, here's one of the Terra Angreals to come into dreams because it's useless to me because I'm pregnant. And then Elaine like meets with mercenaries who are like, hey, we want you to pay us more. And she's like, you will get paid what you will get paid. And it's like, they're not going to defect to the other side anytime soon. And she's like, if you don't, I'll kick you out of here with no weapons. That'll teach you. Threaten the people who are only fighting for you. And then she like wants to get away from her guardswomen, but they're like, no, we follow Brigitte's orders. And she's like, I'm supposed to be the leader.
Shocking, because nobody seems to listen to Brigitte.
I know. And then she has some people come in, and one of the mistresses says that Aramilla and the others plan to ride to Camelin soon, and Elaine is very disturbed because she's like, oh my god, she thinks she's going to win, but she also thinks Aramilla is a fool, and she doesn't have to underestimate her since she has already accomplished much. And then it's just a bunch of like Elaine trying to be a leader and swearing she's a really good leader, but us questioning it at every single interaction. And then we also have, I'm trying to, because like nothing really happens in these chapters. It's just like Elaine trying to figure out a war.
Yeah. And like I would say the next significant thing is you jump to Rand.
But also like Dylan comes back in the map room and they discuss how important the map room is. And like the children are there trying to like be strong heroes, except for the one that Elaine finds useful, and it's just a bunch of nonsense. And then we also cut over to Aramilla, who is like at her camp eating with like the one old man who's a pervert as well. Like this is the book of just like, hey, look at that.
Surprise, another pervert.
It's you have a 9-year-old pervert and a 100-year-old pervert.
We've got them of all ages.
And then all the men in between just don't understand women. Shrug.
You need a perv, and you need a perv, and you need a perv. Pervs in all the chapters.
And Aramilla is like, I'm so powerful. People will fall to me, but they have like a certain amount of people who will not go to either side because they're just waiting to see who gets murdered. Because again, the situation in all these books, I like to remind you, is anytime the queen dies, a civil war breaks out and many people die to choose the next ruler. Mm-hmm. There literally has to be a better way.
It's Game of Thrones, if you will.
And then like kinswomen keep dying, and Elaine is wondering who's killing the kinswoman because Black Aja. And then we cut over to like Rand sitting with Loyal, and Loyal being like, won't you tell me what you've done? You never make yourself the hero. And Rand is like, I don't see myself as a hero. I'm a sheep herder from the Two Rivers.
But come on, this makes for a really boring book.
Like, could you please tell me some kind of stuff to put in my book?
I'm trying to write a really long 1,000-page book of nothing, and you're giving it to me, Rand. This is Crossroads of Twilight.
You're giving me Crossroads of Twilight, and I need
I want Fires of Heaven, and you're giving me I want Fires of Heaven, you're giving me Crossroads of Twilight, Rand. Get it together.
I'm writing a 14-book series where I objectify human women for really weird reasons, okay? So just give me what you've been doing, Rand.
I'm really going to regret calling this The Dragon Reborn if nothing happens.
You're making me write the third book where I pull you out for no reason, but it's even better than all the other books.
That's it. You're out of the book.
You just rip it up like season 4 of... Yeah. Guess what? You're out of the show. And Rand is thinking back to when he fought Samael and Shadar Logoth, and he pictures Moradin's face, and he's like, who was he? And Luce Theron is like, beware of him. And Rand worries that the man might be able to find him by his Taveran effect on the pattern, lost in his thoughts, and others worry he might be ill. Nynaeve delves him to be sure. Then Logain arrives first and tells him firstly of the situation in Andor with Elaine and the Borderland army. He has moved over half the Black Tower to either Ara Daman or Ilion, including all the men who bonded Aes Sedai, though some of them are with Logain and Tyr. He tells him that some of the places are in chaos, and that Ruark has begun to impose order. He tells Rand more of the situation at the Black Tower, that there are 41 who he considers Taim's cronies, and that he has over 50 more in special classes. They begin to argue over the extent of Taim's treachery, and it's like, Rand, Taim hasn't spoken to you in many books. Mm-hmm. He's definitely defected. And Rand's like, no, I think he's still gonna listen to me. And Logain's like, you're a fucking idiot.
Like, you're delusional. Okay.
And then Katsuyen is like, do I have to spank both of you? And it's like, stop spanking people, Katsuyen. We actually like you. And then Varen tells them that the last battle is so close, so Taim will have to wait anyway. But it's
like, how do you know?
But like also Logain is like, what if he's a dark friend now? And Rand is like, I don't know, but we'll wait and see. And Rand tells them about his plans for a truce with the Senchen, and that the Elfin told him that the north and the east must be as one, and the west and the south must be as one. The two must be as one. He also realized that the prophecies say he must bind the 9 moons to him, which is funny.
Because the daughter of the 9 moons. Oh, okay. He'll be bound to them through Matt. Okay.
But also got it. Foreshadowing conflict, because the daughter of the 9 moons said he must kneel to her before Tarmangaden, but his prophecies say that he must bind the 9 moons to him. So it's definitely
will bend the knee.
It's who will bend the knee. And it's also like, hey, our prophecies focus on our hero being the hero. And it's like, oh, really? There might actually not have to be a hero. It's really dumb. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, 3 Ogier have arrived. And Loyal's like, oh my goodness, it's definitely my mom with my future bride. What should I do? And Rand,
which was random. Like,
It was also
Oh
really
no, it's my mom.
well, also again, it's just like Robert Jordan being like, oh my god, for an entire book I forgot to do plot, so now Loyal needs to get married, guys. And Rand is like, you want to marry her, go leave. And then Nynaeve was like, I must go find Lan, a storm is coming, but I don't mean the weather. And it's like, what the fuck does that mean?
I mean, Nynaeve has a lot of storms, but
and thus ends chapter 18, News for the Dragon.
Well, 19 is halfway.
Oh, well, because it's 37 chapters.
But there's a prologue and an epilogue.
I know, but I never count the epilogue because it barely counts. Do you want me to just do 19? I mean, nothing happens. Loyal gets married.
And they're like, are you ready to be married? For all the responsibility of being married? And she's like, I think so. And I'm like, girl, no, you're not.
And and his mom is like, maybe a wife will calm you down. But his wife is obviously like, I'm so impressed by you, Loyal, not being near the steading for a very long time. Brave. And and it's like, oh, Loyal's going to be out of that steading as soon as he can. And then Haman says that as it is raining, they should wait until the next day to leave. His mother says that they must, that the book of translation must be opened as soon as possible. Loyal says he wishes he could address the stump to try and persuade them not to. And she's like, no. But then Aerith is like, I actually take precedence as his wife. And his mom is like, well,
then he gives a big speech.
I know. And his mom is like, that's a pretty good speech. And she's like, but you hate talking in front of people. And he's like, I must. And then we go back to Rand. Rand and Logain are interrupted by the smell of shadow spawn. They run out with Katsuane and Olivia.
Did they have these strong smelling powers before? Or do shadow spawn just reek?
I think they reek. And like they
just like smell Trollocs and they're like, oh.
Yeah. And also Luce there in fights and like overtakes Rand, and Rand is really scared. He sees other weaves that are not his, and he realizes that Logain must be copying him. The Trollocs continue and make it to the barn where the Saldeans are. He sees a Murdral at the window in front of him, and he sees it die with 100 arrows of fire. After the fall, he knows that none are left, but continues to hold the power until Logain asks him why he has not released it, because it's Lews Therin doing this, and Lews Therin is like very excited and just wants to die. He'd be like, you promised we would die. Katsuane threatens Min in order to make the girl tell her how Rand feels, and Rand tells Katsuane not to threaten Min and leave her alone, which he amends to just not threatening her after he feels Min's displeasure and him letting go of the weaves. Thus ends chapter 19. That was pretty easy to cover. So we have one less chapter to cover next week. I'm excited for this. I mean, except for Robert Jordan forgetting that he wanted to write a book in book 10 and then all of a sudden be like, hey, Loyal's married, this other person's married. Like, it feels like the Taverin are walking through and people are like, oh, we suddenly need to get married because like Tarmangated is coming, but not for another 3 books. So
I feel like he was just really starting to rush things because he was like, oh crap, I just wrote a 1,000-page book that was horrible and nothing happened, and I gotta really speed this up.
Right. Oh, I do have a quick corrections corner for something I said in previous episodes when I was reading the love hypothesis, and it's important to clarify. Okay. So sorry for randomly doing this right here, but I keep forgetting to do it. I said that ace people do not want to have sex, which is an incorrect use. Ace people want to have sex, but they do not have sexual. Or yeah,
for those that don't know, ace is abbreviation.
Yes, apologies. Ace is abbreviation for asexual, and they don't experience sexual attraction. That does not mean that they do not want to have sex, and that is a very important clarification. And we had a listener reach out and recommend listening to Ace Stat Advice by @CDagle He has a great series on TikTok where he gives advice that's very eye-opening to asexual people in the community. I'm trying to learn myself more about asexual people. And so that is an important clarification to make. Cool. And in the lab hypothesis, yeah, thank you so much for reaching out and clarifying. That's an important thing for me in context for this podcast. Also, I reread the love hypothesis sex scene. Asexualism is never mentioned in it. It was just heavily indicated that I felt like the author was putting that in there. I still believe that character was just demisexual. And I think that if you're going to put in love scenes like that, it's actually important to use the language behind it so that people are more aware. But that's just my clarification. Thank you so much for reaching out. And can't wait to actually talk more about this plot where like random plot things are happening in Knife of Dreams, or as Hannah calls it, Knife of Daggers, because this book is actually getting
There are
exciting
knives
again.
involved in some
There
form.
are so many knives and dye rolling around the head, and we can count every single one of them next week.
Yeah, sure.
But Laura and I have talked very much about this book. It feels like we're higher energy about this series than we've been in a while. So yay.
I mean, I think that just goes with the territory of it being a better book.
It's a better book. We took a break from this for 2 weeks, which was really nice. And next week we'll be finishing up Knife of Dreams before we get into the character episode. So we'll be covering chapters 20 through 37 and the tiny epilogue. And Laura seems more excited about this book than she has in a long time, which is good.
Again, like just a better book.
Better book. And if you guys agree with us, please feel free to reach out to us at OurPod. That's OWWR Pod on all social platforms. Email us at ourpod.com or ourpod@gmail.com. And please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. It's a great way to reach out to us. And tune in next week for, thankfully, the last TV Tuesday we'll be doing in a while. And on Wednesday for the second half of this book. Bye!
Bye!